Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you, I'm going to be talking about Mafia Definitive Edition. This game was actually just released very recently, literally just the past weekend here. I believe the date was September 25th, although I actually had it as early as the 24th. The developer for Mafia Definitive Edition is Hainer 13 with the publisher of 2K Games. Same developer and publisher from Mafia 3 and I believe Mafia 2 as well, question mark. Not 100% sure of that. And it was released for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows PC. And what you're seeing here is gameplay of the Windows PC version on Classic Mode. And there's a reason I went to Classic Mode. I actually do remember when Mafia was the hottest thing. And Classic Mode was the closest thing I could get through Mafia Definitive Edition to get that classic gameplay feel from the original Mafia game. Now, not a whole heck of a lot has changed. This is a remake of the classic game. There's a lot of new mechanics to this. There's AI improvements, graphic improvements. This game is actually, generally speaking, has been a major overhaul compared to the original. I will make some comparisons to the original. However, the comparisons are actually kind of poor because you're talking Mafia is from like 2002, 2003, where obviously it is now 2020. So we're talking a remake being done almost 20 years later. So there's going to be a major advancements in the technology, the way games are done, the way coding is, etc. That's going to affect that. I will also be making some comparisons here, though, to Mafia 3 as well, because Mafia 3 actually is the newest game in the series up until Mafia Definitive Edition here. So real quickly, the developers Hainer 13, publishers 2K Games, if I haven't already said that, and the Mafia game is the story about Tony Angelo. This is during the Prohibition years where you're running booze and essentially it's actually illegal to even have a drink of alcohol. And essentially this is the height of the period for the mafias, the different mafia crime families. And what you have here is Tony Angelo you're playing the part of Tony Angelo, who was a cab driver that was kind of pushed into becoming a mafia wise guy, muscle man, driver, everything pretty much for Mr. Salieri, and you essentially become member of the Salieri family. And as things rolls out, it's just a big mess. It's just a mafia story. Things start off where it's just all kind of quiet, and as things go along, you go to war with the Morello family, and the game actually continues on a bit more. Alright, so let's primarily focus on my likes, dislikes, and etc., and on things I feel they could have worked better on. Now, graphics. The graphics look way better compared to the original, and even better than Mafia 3. I really like the graphics. Everything just looks so superb in this game. I do believe the game actually does have RTX. Not 100% sure what once again you're seeing here. This is PC gameplay. This is all the graphics on Max. And as you can see, the lighting, the graphics, the sharpness of everything just looks really good. Police and Mobster AI is good. It's very good, actually. I would definitely say the Police and Mobster AI is better than it was in Mafia 3, and that is the best comparison I have. Now, that being said, I would not say it's an extreme improvement over Mafia 3 for when it comes to AI, and that is even including civilian AI as well, but there is definitely improvements in the AI. Sounds are definitely better. Everything just sounds better. The music sounds better. The engines sound better. Even the way the cars drive better. And that is actually driving on simulator mode. Except for the race. You know the race. Everybody who's ever played Mafia 1 knows the race. And that's all that needs to be said. There is a cover mechanic in the game, as well as the cover is actually destructible for the most part. I was hiding behind a crate, And literally, the crate got shot up right in front of me. That was not fun, considering all I had was a pistol, and the monster I was shooting at had a Tommy gun. So it was getting pretty rough. You actually have to follow traffic laws in this. That's if you have police response set to simulator, which, if you're playing in classic mode, police response is set to simulator, and it is much more enjoyable and immersive that way because you actually have to follow speed limits. You have to follow traffic laws, etc. You can even get speeding tickets in the game, which I accepted a few speeding tickets because it's easier than running from the cops. I've already said driving feels better, but that is a part of my notes. I want to highlight that driving does feel better than it does in the original Mafia. Cars feel a bit more responsive, maybe a bit too responsive, but I feel for having a modern entry, a modern remake of the Mafia game, that was actually one improvement. Now, don't get me wrong, the cars still feel like they dog a bit, but they do feel like they respond, accelerate, and drive better. Lighting and weather effects looks amazing. Looks way better. Looks better than even Mafia 3. Probably once again because it looks like and seems like they actually have RTX on this. I'm not 100% sure about that, folks. Added motorcycles. The original Mafia game, folks, from 2002, 2003 did not have motorcycles in it, and they have motorcycles in this one. The only thing that's kind of disappointing is they added motorcycles. There's not too many motorcycles, but there's no motorcycles with sidecars, and I do believe sidecars were a thing at this time period. It would have been a nice touch to also see motorcycles with sidecars, considering you really don't see that kind of thing in video games, but it does exist, folks. Uh, it's got a simple hammer home story that hasn't really changed. It's pretty much a the story doesn't change a heck of a lot from the original Mafia game. Now, there's some things they kind of cut shorter. There's some things that they kind of smoothed out a little bit more. And there's some things that they expanded on when it comes to the story. So while it's not exactly identical to the original Mafia 1, it is still very in spirit to the original Mafia 1. And in some ways, it's actually even better in certain areas than the original Mafia 1 game. Um, And then once again, it's got classic mode. It gives you that classic hard, extreme hard mode feel of Mafia, which is something that Mafia 2 didn't really do so well on. And Mafia 3 really didn't do well on that at all. And in all honesty, by having classic mode, it really adds to the immersion of the game. It really feels like you're there. Like I said, you got to follow them traffic laws. You can't take too many hits. You can't get shot up too much because if you do, you will die. Things of that nature. Neutral. This is stuff that I feel they could have worked on a little bit better. Similar police mechanics to Mafia 3. Mostly, I'm talking about here is the police chase mechanics. Uh, they do work here, but essentially it's the same generic police police chase mechanics that you get from GTA, Mafia 3, etc. They really didn't change too much there on that. There might be some a little improvements, especially because the police AI is a bit better, but there's not a whole lot of improvements there. Voice acting and voices seem better in the original, actually. Uh, I don't know what it is. It's just the way the voices and everything were, the way the voice actors acted their roles in the original Mafia game actually feels better than it does in the definitive edition, which was kind of disappointing. And actually, I found the gentleman who played Polly to be absolutely annoying. So sorry, Polly, don't have me whacked. I don't really like how the job you did for Mafia. Gameplay similar to Mafia 3, but it there's certain areas that feels a bit off. Um, Especially like here with the fighting. I'm doing hand to hand fighting and it just feels a little off compared to the original Mafia or sorry, compared to Mafia 3. And generally speaking, the melee combat is just nothing special. Now my dislikes. We're gonna start this with a big highlight. You can put this in all caps, folks. I'm not sure if the closed caption will put this in caps for me, but if it does, YouTube, put this in caps for me in the closed captioning. The race still sucks. It is the fucking worst part of Mafia. I hated it from the original Mafia, and it's even worse in this version of Mafia. Racing still sucks. The race sucks. God for fucking bid, whoever put that in the game needs to be shot. It's really early in the game, and it's probably the hardest part about the whole fucking game, and it still sucks. And that's enough talking about the race. Civilian AI is honestly the shit. You could be driving down the street going 50 miles an hour, and the AI will just stop right in the middle of the road and stare at you like deer in the headlights. Actually, I'm pretty sure they are deer in the headlights, or at least they act like it. Also, if they're just kind of standing there in the middle of the street and you go honking your horn, they'll just stand there and stare at you. I'm not sure if that was done intentionally, but the AI is really bad. The other one I noticed too is civilians that are driving cars. When they drive up alongside a tram or one of the little red trains, they will stop. They will not. Most of the time, they will not drive past it. They will stop dead in the middle of the road. There may not be anything from stopping them from passing the tram, but they'll just sit there looking like a deer in the headlights, have their eyes glazed over. I'm not sure what the hell they're doing, you know, maybe thinking about the lottery or something. Shooting vehicles while driving is useless. For the most part, you can't damage. You just kind of aim at a vehicle and start shooting at it. You can't just aim for the gunman. You can't aim for the tires. It just kind of auto locks in on the center of the vehicle and it starts blasting, which really sucks because I've actually been one shot through the rear of a car and died in the driver's seat. But then I've unloaded magazine after magazine after magazine on cars and not been able to do anything. Now this here's an exception. But when it comes to if you're driving and you're shooting a gun, it's not very good. I wouldn't say this is really a negative, and this is something I don't remember in the original. Maybe it was in the original. Please, folks, video comments down below. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the original Mafia game having collectibles. This version of Mafia does have collectibles, though. However, there's not a ton of collectibles from what I can tell, but they are in the game, and it's kind of a nuisance. It's not as bad as Mafia 3 was, where it takes you it's a lifetime achievement award to get all the collectibles. But it just kind of sucks that they're in the game in general. There's a ram button in the game. What the fuck? Why is there a ram button in the game? We don't need a ram button in the game. I remember a time when ramming didn't need a button. Mad Max had a ramming button too. That was quite annoying. Why do we need ramming buttons in video games? Why can't it just be like the old days where you hit a car on the rear corner panel and you fishtail them if you do it the right way? I'm not sure why there's a ram button. So I'm going to say ram button once again. What the fuck? Just WTF ram button. And I did notice some spawning and some graphic glitches. However, that being said, I did not see any game-breaking glitches in this game, and I have to say that Hainer 13 has actually done a very good job modernizing the Mafia game and bringing it up to the snuff of the current series. You guys did a great job. I do recommend this game. It is right now, it is $40 on Steam, folks. I actually bought Mafia Definitive Edition with Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, which also came with Mafia Classic, and it was like $50, and it was well worth it. It was money well spent, folks, and I do highly recommend buying Mafia Definitive Edition if you've played the original and you would like a more modernized version of Mafia, or if you've liked the Mafia series, like you've played Mafia 2 and you've played Mafia 3, but you have yet to play Mafia, I do also recommend this. I just generally recommend the game. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been very immersive. And if you do get Mafia Definitive Edition, I recommend actually trying it on Classic mode. You can change it in the middle of the campaign. in the middle of the story mode to an easier difficulty. But definitely give classic mode a try. I think you might find yourself quite surprised of the enjoyment you can have with that. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for watching this game review from me. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and give the video a like and share it with your friends, folks. Anyway, have yourself a wonderful week.